What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Unavailable, your home for all injury related content here at the Undroppables Network. Again, my name is Marcus Gailey. I'll be your host. Camp started a couple weeks ago, and now people are starting to drop like flies. It's actually been pretty crazy the amount of injuries that have started to rack up, after the first round of preseason games and practice and things like that. So there's a lot to talk about today. I could probably make a whole hour show on different injuries and players and things like that. But again, these are going to be kept short. We're going to highlight a few players, keep it brief, try to answer any main questions that anybody has. Today's going to be more focused on running backs. So I'm going to touch on Javonte Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and Jahmyr Gibbs. But before we get into today's content, I want to tell you about Underdog real quick. It's the best, quickest way to play fantasy football. There's constantly best ball drafts going around. They're pretty quick, easy to be a part of. Thousands of leagues going on, easy signups. And, keep an eye on those ADPs because, this is an injury show. So, as we talk about people getting hurt, the players around those injured players, you're going to see them rise, fall, things like that. So always keep an eye on your ADP, see where you can make some value. Just be sure to use code UNDROPPABLE. That's capital UNDROPPABLE when you sign up, and they'll match for up to $100 on your first deposit. So again, shout out Underdog, the easiest way to play fantasy football. So hopping into today's episode, we're going to talk about Javonte Williams, running back for the Denver Broncos. So as we know, he tore his ACL 2 years ago, played last year. So now he's getting into second year, fully back from a torn ACL. And this is typically where running backs will return to their prior surgical form. So though he played last year, typical ACL recovery timeline is 9 to 12 months. So he did play. He was rather unimpressive, yards per carry. All of his rushing metrics were not great. But the good news for Javonte Williams and for anyone who owns him in fantasy is that he should theoretically have a better, more productive season this year. The data shows that typically 2 years post ACL surgery, you're going to see an increase in yards per carry and fantasy points per games. And guys, real quick, I just want to give a quick shout out. So a lot of the information that I use is from my boy Adam Hutchinson over at Football Guys. He created this injury index, which breaks down position, injury, and it gives you all kind of numbers. Expected percent reduction in fantasy points after certain injuries, this many weeks out, how many games players are going to miss with various injuries. It's absolutely incredible. If you want to follow him on X, he's at the real Adam _H is his name. Give him a follow. Another just fantastic injury analyst. He's actually the one who got me into this space to begin with. Awesome guy. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to him. But yeah, so year 2 post-op for ACLs, you should see actually an increase in production. So for those Javonte fans who are sweating it a little bit, I think, you'll know pretty early on, probably by week 3 or 4, what Javonte you're going to get. If you have him in Dynasty, I would recommend to keep him. His market's not going to be great right now. This is probably the lowest point to sell him, so you don't want to do that. You want to keep him. And, the backfield's not super competitive right now. I think he's going to maybe even find himself in a workhorse role. So I actually really like him moving forward. Again, the data favors that he should see a more closer return to his form prior to his ACL surgery. So again, that's Javonte for you. If you have him, keep him. Redraft leagues, he's going fairly late. So, take a pick on him in the 7th or 8th round, and it should benefit you. So those are thoughts on Javonte. Moving to another running back, Christian McCaffrey, suffered a calf strain last week. And from everything I've read in the Twitter sphere, if you will, seems to be a mild strain. So when you look at your tissue healing time, any kind of grade 1 muscle strain lands at about 2 to 4 weeks. Grade 2, a little bit more serious, 2 to 3 months. And grade 3 can be 3 months and onward. So the 49ers do not seem to be super concerned about his injury. From what I can tell, it should be about a grade 1, 2 to 4 weeks. They're about three-ish weeks away from the home opener. Heard it last week. So should be wheels up, ready to go for week 1. I wouldn't be too concerned. If you want to give yourself a little bit of peace of mind, you can go stash either Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell if you're afraid that he's going to miss some time, but not super concerned about McCaffrey. If you're lucky in redraft, some people might be wary and stay away from him, and you might actually be able to snag him at a little bit of a later pick, maybe pick 4 or 5. He'll be there. He'll be there for you. But yeah, wouldn't be too concerned. Injury risks for re-injury risks for calf strains are relatively low. There's a chance, that he does tweak it again at some point during the season, but I don't anticipate him being out for a lengthy amount of time. So, all is good if you own CMC. But again, for peace of mind, if you want to stash either Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell, it's not going to be very expensive to do so. And lastly, I'm going to get into Jahmyr Gibbs here. Believed to have suffered a hamstring injury last week, but reports came out today that they're not concerned about it. Should be ready to go for week 1. Again, this is the time of year that it's best to have a soft tissue injury. You're looking 3 to 4 weeks away from the home opener. Teams are not going to feel pressed to rush these players back into any sorts of activity. It's not like, Jahmyr Gibbs tweaks his hamstring in week 13 and they're 1 game out of the lead for the division behind the Packers. And, they really want to get him to play because it's a big game coming up. There's none of that. They're going to be super cautious in returning him to activity. He has almost a full month to rehab, heal, get that hamstring back to 100%. So he'll be ready for the season. So again, I wouldn't be too worried about him either. It's believed, again, from everything I'm reading, probably looking at a grade one hamstring injury, which would put you, again, at about 2 to 4 weeks. Again, they do not believe that it's serious, so should be good to go. The re-injury risk for hamstrings is a little bit higher than a calf strain. So again, something to keep an eye on. But again, I anticipate them to be super cautious with Jahmyr Gibbs because hamstrings are things that can linger and leave players out for an extended period of time. Even just last year, we saw Justin Jefferson go on IR with a hamstring injury. They can linger and take upwards of 2 to 3 months to heal, if not treated properly the first time. But seems to be all good. In Detroit they're not super concerned about Gibbs missing any time. So there you have it. There's the show today. 3 running backs, Javonte Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Please hit that subscribe button down below and leave in the comments any players, any injuries you want me to review for next show. So thanks again, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.